We start with Thor. That one's kind of like off on its own, even before, like, I mean...
Well, they're also like in Asgard, right? Yeah. So they can't always directly relate it, and especially that early, like that'd be interesting. I'm not sure exactly when the story takes place in relation to like Earth time, basically.
Right. I mean, it seems like it's just sort of off on its own. It's like, I'm not like, does it relate to mythology? It is obviously Thor is rooted in mythology, and there are characters and concepts we find in mythology, but I don't know if this is the Thor myth that we were presented with when we were reading Thor, Son of Asgard.
Yeah, I doubt the timeline is like the same as how we wrote it, kind of thing.
When does Iron Man come into the into the Thor mythology?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The first one that we came up was the Thor, Son of Asgard. It was from 2004. And it's kind of like an origin story.
Basically, yeah. It's like his first quest and like adventure kind of thing. So
yeah, it's just like some snippets of him when he was in the fighter school, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's more so the second story. There's three main stories that take place during the 1 to 12.
Mm-hmm.
So like 1 to 6 is his first adventure and quest to recover like different elements for a sword. It's like a very classic like fantasy movie type of quest storyline.
Right.
Then the middle one, 5 to 9, I believe, is kind of like a Sif and Thor love story, so it's more of like a coming of age.
Yeah, that was the one where she was like all jealous of the new girl. It's like, I guess we should do it in order. The first one was like they had to basically find 4 different artifacts that would then be combined to make this legendary sword.
Yeah, and
so he's got these 2 friends, Sif and
Balder.
And I mean, I don't even really remember it that well. Like, it doesn't stick out that much in my mind. It was just sort of dry to me because like they just sort of go from one place to another without really having that much adversity, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah, like there was really more adversity in like the way they'd handled their relationships, because it was like Odin asks Thor to go on this quest, and Thor's like, "Yeah, me and my friends will go right away," and then his friends are like, "What the fuck, dude? You didn't even ask me."
Right. And then there's also like some like interpersonal stuff between Sif and Balder wants in on that too. Did I catch that?
Yeah, like kind of like a love triangle. Yeah. Is that what you mean? Yeah, so there's some that stuff, and there's like some tension there, and it's more like the elements of the story are kind of ways to exemplify that kind of struggle. So it was kind of just a very basic like adventure thing. They go to like different locales, and I did kind of like that it wasn't just like a battle each time they went there. There was like 4 things they had to get, and there was like 2 battles, and one like there was like a friendly giant eagle.
Right. There was like different things each time. Like the first, the dragon had already been, I guess Loki told them that they were going there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also Loki is also throughout the stories just kind of like
just following them around like a creeper.
Yeah, basically. Straight up.
And like he's the one that instigates the sort of love triangle stuff between Sif and Thor and Balder. Because she's like bathing, and then he calls out.
Yeah, he like makes himself sound like Sif, or like throws his voice to make it sound like Sif needs help, and then Thor comes running, and then Sif is just like there naked bathing. Mm-hmm. What the hell, man? Yeah.
What do you think about the art style?
I definitely liked it overall. The locales were awesome. I like
it was not very comic booky, right? Like it was not what I think of when I think of comic book, like traditional sort of. It's more like a painterly style.
Yeah, and there's more kind of like sketchy shading and stuff. I like that a lot. I did find my 2 gripes with it were, one, sometimes when I wanted to like look at it, find more detail in like an expression or something like that, like depending on some emotion that they're like happening with, it was kind of hard to get that detail out of it. Some of the faces were like a little kind of distorted-ish, which
it was sometimes hard to tell people apart for sure. But not, I mean, like in some of the later ones, it's hard to like differentiate like men and women. Like, so it's not that bad. It's not as bad as some of them can be, but I thought it was interesting, but I thought that was the strength, whereas I sort of thought the plot was kind of just sort of boring. Like, get these 4 things, and then like, oh, we get these 4 things.
yeah, for sure.
And then and then at the end, Thor doesn't even get the sword. It goes to Balder, who I've never heard of before. I mean, like, is he gonna return in any of the stories, do you think?
I think so, yeah. I know for sure Sif, like, she kind of gets her own thing. Like, she becomes, like, kind of her own, like, hero. I'm pretty sure she gets her own comic books and stuff.
Yeah.
Balder, though, is definitely more of, like, a kind of a sidekick.
Did he make the MCU?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's one of...
Was it 2 or...
I think he's in the first and second Thor.
Okay. He's one of the, like, the dudes that is with him? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's the... God, I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure he's the kind of the more agile one, and he's got, like, a blonde mustache or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's him. And Sif is definitely in the MCU.
Okay.
Go back to the art. The one other thing I want to mention about the art, I definitely like the locales. I found that was a major strength. Like the environments were just really intensely beautiful. I had lots of really neat details and stuff to them. I also didn't like some of the action sequences. I was trying to figure out like in what part of the motion they were. And like some of it sequentially got a bit lost on me. I couldn't really like follow some of the action. But I still think it was a good choice for art style. Anyway,
so after they recover the sword, the parts for the sword, there's then this like weird story where Sif is the only girl in the warrior school, and then she's not the only girl in the warrior school. There's a new like Brunhilde, I think is her name.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I would have called her, even if that's not what her name was. Yeah. So, and then she's jealous because now she's not the only warrior in the school. But then none of it matters because some other girl who's like Loki's friend, like in the wizard school.
The Enchantress.
Just puts a spell on him anyway.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I get it was like, it's kind of a classic coming of age, but it was like, obviously a bit heavy-handed, and I felt like they didn't give like maybe Sif enough credit.
Yeah, for sure. She definitely seemed it definitely seemed like a negative on her character, like the whole jealousy type thing, and there was no sort of like redeeming aspect to it.
Yeah, and then there's a whole thing too where like she becomes part of this plot where she agrees to help Loki because she wants to use a mirror to like force his affection, kind of thing. So at least like that was basically the conflict.
We forgot one important part of the first story.
What?
Thor dies.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, Thor super dies, and then Odin kind of plays it off like, "Oh no," which we find out later. But Odin is acting like he's dead, and he just kind of like nonchalantly like pours some of the secret sand from this like dried out lake, and the water was supposed to be one of the elements they bring back anyway. And then it's like it can only be mixed by tears, so Odin kind of like fakes him being super sad and dead, so that like Sif will like cry on his body, and then that brings him back.
Then the tears become the water of the ocean, so then they actually do have that artifact.
Yeah. How he planned to get that if he didn't get shot, I don't know. So that was kind of convenient. But yeah, Thor definitely dies. That I don't know. Maybe chronologically, that will be like the first like hero resurrection.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, who knows when the chronology is for all? It's basically set chronologically thousands of years before all the other stories.
Yeah, I would think so.
Or on some other plane now.
Yeah, he's definitely he's definitely old.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to look into that. Maybe we'll throw up some
when it comes to
info or something. But yeah,
when it comes to the MCU stuff, I'm a little bit rusty because it was a lot of information to take in, and I missed some of the movies because it was 52 hours. So
yeah,
it's hard to keep it all straight when I'm looking back. So this helps a little bit, I guess. And all this time, he doesn't even have Thor's hammer. He's not worthy. And that's kind of what, I guess, the third story is about. Yeah. Yeah. That's
kind of like he didn't care about the sword in the first one. He was like, nah, it's cool. Like, I got my own enchanted weapon waiting for me.
Yeah. Oh, what's coming? I know what's coming.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about the Sif storyline. I kind of feel like it was a disservice to Sif, especially because they were building up in the first one that she's one of the more clear-headed ones.
Right.
But then all of a sudden she's so hot for Thor that she betrays all her principles.
Yeah, it was really dumb. I just thought I was not entertained.
Yeah.
I thought the first one was better than the second one for sure, even though the first one was simple.
Yeah.
In comparison.
Yeah. At least took you to different places, and yeah, I felt like I was watching one of those old 80s fantasy films, so I was pretty down with that. Yeah. And then the last one would be 10 to 12, and that was that's the worthy storyline.
Yeah. So that obviously is about him picking up the hammer, and I kind of had weird issues with this one too, because he is unable to pick up the hammer, and then he goes and tells his dad that he's going to refuse to stay in Asgard. He's going to go find his friend.
Yeah, and I think he initially agrees because Sif gets kidnapped, and then Odin's like, "No, you're too close to this." It's basically one of those cop stories. You're too close to this. We can't let you in on this case or whatever. You have to stay and protect Asgard. Yeah. And then he just kind of just gets up one day and is just like, fuck this, I'm going. And he just kind of nonchalantly walks into the Mjolnir room and picks up the hammer and then just walks outside. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of anticlimactic. There wasn't even any he picks it up and he's like, ah, and there's no lightning or anything.
He didn't really do anything to be worthy. He just he didn't accomplish any feat,
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be him defying his father or something like that, or he just needed that confidence. I don't know. It wasn't. I don't feel like it was enough.
I had to reread it because I just thought it was so weird because he just picked it up, then talked to his dad. He just tried to pick it up. He couldn't pick it up, and then he talked to his dad, and then he went and picked it up. It just seems so sudden.
Yeah, I don't.
It just seems like such an important thing that you would expect it to be seem more significant, right?
Yeah. I found there was more significance in, when his friends walk into the room, and apparently he's just been sitting in that room, just sulking and brooding since the last storyline. And they come into the room, and he's, just straining, and he's got it, just barely lifted up off the ground. I was like, oh, that's cool. That was kind of a surprise moment. Oh, shit, he's almost got it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it is just kind of glossed over. And I don't like that. I thought at least when he first picked it up, there would be a more triumphant, just a little bit of lightning crack or something
Well, then he uses it to fly by just holding on to the leather end of it.
Yeah, he spins it and then does the thing momentum, I guess, which is what
that's what Thor does.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And then he goes to fight Hela. Is it Hela?
Yeah. After there was a really cool fight with a bunch of giants. I like that fight. Yeah, because it's just kind of like the first like time Thor has all his powers and stuff, and he just goes to find whoever kidnapped Sif, and initially it's a bunch of giants who make a deal with Hela. But yeah, he's just in a room with a bunch of giants and just beating their asses with a hammer. So that was cool. I like that. Actually.
I remember thinking, like when I was reading, that I liked the look of them here more than in the movies when we saw them. They just seemed to me like random throw off bad guy sort of in the MCU.
Who?
Like, the giants.
Oh, okay. As opposed to like I guess in the MCU you're thinking of like the Frost Giants.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is it different faction?
Yeah, I think these are just like big like troll looking giants. Okay. I don't think they're Frost Giants, but
it'll happen later. Well, because Hela was in Thor 2, right?
She Ragnarok.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's when she breaks the hammer.
Yeah, that's the third Thor.
She's got like the. That's how I recognized her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. They did a pretty good recreation of that too. She's got a cool look. There's some good artwork of her in those issues. And
and then she's gonna kill Sif, and then he's like, "No, take me instead." And then she's like, "Oh, I can't take you anyway because Thor will think it's a noble death."
Odin will think it's a noble death.
Yeah.
It was kind of like she's trying to kill Odin, trying to kill Thor so that she can get to Odin. But then Thor is all like, "Oh, take me instead of Sif," and she's like, "I can't kill you now. Like Odin will dig that." Like,
yeah, that makes you too much of a good guy.
Yeah, they can't make him a martyr or something like that. She was like, "All right, you guys."
and then that's the end.
Yeah. Which I guess is part of like him kind of like finding those principles to make him worthy kind of thing. So the most cool instead of just a big fight.
Yeah, the most origin story thing about it was him being able to pick up the hammer. Like he couldn't pick up the hammer at first, and then he could pick up the hammer.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's sort of it's so off in the middle of like. Who cares? Like when we get to the other stuff, it just seems so unrelated. Like especially when we start doing the like Captain America stuff.
Oh yeah, okay.
There's just like lots of crossover, and with this one, there's just none. Like,
yeah, it's a very isolated universe, especially because it's like on another world in a different time, like. Literally a long time ago in a galaxy far away.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I definitely think there should have been just a more concrete of like him switching over in his personality, like him making some sort of different like decision. But I guess they were kind of pushing the whole like he's trying to be worthy for his father, and then I guess maybe the moment where he defies his father and like finds his own agenda,
right,
is maybe part of what makes him worthy. But it wasn't as defined as I would like it as a character moment.
Like you said, the artwork I thought was really good. I'm not used to it looking like every panel someone like painted.
Yeah,
like I guess that's sort of just the new digital art look. In a way, but to me it makes it stand out. I think the artwork is definitely its strongest point, but the writing is a little bit simplistic. We'll see as we progress that it's a little bit more dense in terms of like twists and like heaviness, especially. Like this seemed really like we're on an adventure. Whereas like in a few origin stories later, we're gonna have like people in concentration camps and stuff. Like,
yeah. That's always been part of Thor anyway. Like it's always been a bit more lighthearted in a sense because it is like very fantastical.
It's lighthearted, but it's also like stuffy in a way, I find. maybe it's because it's supposed to be these like myths and legends, right? So they talk in this sort of hoity-toity manner.
Thou dost, and all that. Yeah.
And
even the text is different. Like in the speech bubbles, like they have like a more like medieval script.
I think the MCU proves that Thor works better when he's like with other characters to sort of play off of. Like I think he pairs really good with the Guardians of the Galaxy because he's so like straight laced and they're so off the wall and crazy.
Yeah. And I think like I think he's better in space. I think he's better having like Ragnarok type of adventures. Like there's some humor to be had in the whole like, oh, guy who's not familiar to Earth is all of a sudden having to live with Earthlings. Like it's cool, but we've seen that like so many times. There's only so much you can do with that.
Yeah.
Whereas otherwise you can put this, if you take that same concept but put him into like any sort of other culture, that can also be interesting.
Right. He's best when he's not the weirdest one.
Yeah. Where he's oddly the straight man, where he's still like one of the most powerful, or like, has one of the strangest there, but it's part of his comfort in being able to do that. Like he's still comfortable no matter where he is.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's a big appeal.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's Thor.